What's up guys, it's Brian aka Big Brain Beats. I'm here today with another video for you guys. I'm super stoked about this one because it is a gear video. It's actually going to be part one of a two-part video that I make about my snare drums. Some of you guys don't actually know, but I do use two different snare drums for the most part. One of them is going to be an Orange County Percussion and Drum snare drum. The other one is going to be a hy.page Voyager. Now my Orange County Percussion and Drums I mostly use for my gigs, my shows, as well as when I'm recording here in the studio in my house. So you guys have seen it on YouTube quite a bit. It is a 14-inch by 5.5-inch, so it's a typical size for most snare drums. However, it is a little bit thicker on the plies. This gives it a nice, bold, rich sound. It also has more vent holes than what you typically would see on a drum that size. And this only increases the volume, gives it more punch, and that's why I normally use it for gigs rather than in here for practice. I actually do use the hy.page Voyager snare drum with the hy.page Voyager kit here in the studio for rehearsal with Taillight Serenade and Savings. I also use it when I'm just working in here by myself, creating new music and learning new songs, as it's a good snare drum, but it's nothing crazy and nothing too expensive. So if I am beating the crap out of it, I don't feel terrible by any means because that is what it's there for. I'm super excited today because we are going to be upgrading the sound quality of both of these snare drums for me. So not only is my gig snare going to sound better, but also when I'm practicing in here with the boys, it's going to sound better. And that's always going to be a positive for us when we're practicing and writing new music. Now I'm going to start this video with the Orange County Percussion and Drums. I did get an Evans UV1 snare tune-up kit. It comes with a UV1 batter head, I believe a snare side 300 snare side head, and as well as new snare wires and a couple accessories for me to get my snare head tuned just right and sounding beautiful. I'm super excited to use that tune-up kit, but I didn't want the drum heads that are on my gig snare to go to waste, as they are only about a year and a half old at most, and I've only used them for gigs and recording here in the studio. I haven't used them too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer them over to the hy.page, give the hy.page a little bit of an upgrade, as I have never changed the drum heads on that, and I have never changed the snare wire on that drum either. So I'm going to give that a little bit of an upgrade and hopefully elevate my sound on both snare drums. I'm going to do a little bit more with the hy.page Voyager, and that's why this is going to be a two-part video, and you guys are going to see what I plan on doing down the line. But we're going to start with the Orange County Percussion and Drums, get this guy taken apart, get it all tuned up with the new drum heads, and show you guys what it sounds like. So before I get started, I did want to show you guys the snare drums as they are right now. I still have the Halloween gels on them for my dampening pads. As you can see with the hy.page Voyager, there's quite a bit of wear on that batter head. Some of the coating is missing on quite a big section of it. As we go over to my Orange County drum, there's a little bit of that coating missing as well. I do think it's time to get this one upgraded for show quality sound. I did also want to show you guys this Evans kit that I did get, the UV1. Now this is a different snare drum head, batter head than what I'm used to playing. And this is a 1-ply 10mm drum head with a nice UV tested coating on it. I'm used to using the reverse 360 or level 360 power center reverse dot. This kind of has a thing right in the middle on the inside of the drum that helps control the power. It gives it a nice impact. You can kind of see the shape of where I hit it right in that center. That gives it a lot of punch, a lot of kick. However, when you hit outside of that ring, it kind of almost rings and creates a little bit more overtones for my snare drum. So I wanted to try a different batter head, see if I can eliminate that happening at shows, so that way if I do slightly miss hit, it doesn't sound as raspy or open or overtony as when I'm hitting it cleanly right in the center. With this, I did get the UV1 snare head. I did get the snare side 300 as well. They put the nice Evans marching logo underneath as well. They did include a nice set of ProMark sticks. They are Rebound 5As as well, so actually a size that I will use. I've never used the ProMark Rebound, so that'll be a new test for me. We also have a custom Pro snare wire. It's a 20 strand wire, slightly larger than what I'm using right now. They also gave me this tuning key, which I do not have one like this. This one looks like it might be a little easier to rotate. We also got a polishing cloth, EQ pads, lug lubricant, and metal polish. So we're going to make these guys look beautiful. Let me get started on this and let's see what we get. we got the Orange County percussion and drum snare drum all changed up with the UV1 on the batter head, EQ pods from Evans, and then I did have the snare side 300 for the snare side on this drum. There we go. Let's take a look there. Oh, look at that, how beautiful. I'm gonna hit this for you. Of course, I tuned it a little bit. It is cold where I am at. It is also not the best tuning because these are new drum heads. I still need to break them in, but once I get this positioned correctly, on the stand at least, you can kind of hear what I have tuned. You can kind of hear how I have it tuned right now. It is a little bit more open than what my old snare drum was. Obviously, without that power center dot, that reverse power center dot, it is a much more open sound. It's also one ply, so it's not as dampened as some of my tom sounds, which I kind of like right now. I think it'll add a different flavor. It also sounds a lot like the recordings I have with Savings because the drums that I use in that are also one ply coated drum heads on the snare drums in those recordings. So it'll be very similar to what I play on the records for Savings. So I think it'll sound good on stage as well. Pardon this volume spike, but I'm going to show you the tuning that I have right now. So yeah, it is a little bit brighter than I normally tune my snare drum. I do also have the snare wires fairly tight. Still a little crisp like I like, but it is much more open than I previously had it. Also making it sound a little bit bolder, which I am liking. So now the next process is I'm going to be taking apart the Mapex, cleaning it up as best as I can, and yeah, probably switching out those old heads, even though they're old and a little worn. Probably going to put them on over here. I may leave the snare side from this Mapex still on there because it's not terrible. It hasn't been beaten on too bad. Obviously it's a snare side, and this one just has eaten a lot of that snare wire just from how much I've used it and moved it around. So I'm going to take this apart and let's see where we're at. Alright, so I finished up the Mapex Voyager snare drum. Actually ended up taking off the whole wrap. Got the hoops off. We got all the hardware in baggies separated and organized. The snare wires, the drum heads that I'm going to use, everything that I'm going to have for this Voyager. Part 2 is going to be, I'm going to actually sand this down a little bit on the outside just to get that wood glue off from where they secured the wrap. And then I'm going to actually use a wood stain because I like when my snare drum looks different than my kit, and the kit being a black wrap, I like the way this wood grain looks. It's really hard to tell on camera, but there's a nice vertical wood grain that goes up and down throughout the whole entire snare. It looks really good in person. You can kind of see it on camera, but I'm hoping that when I do stain this, instead of just having the wrap on there, it'll give it a nice unique look. So yeah, part 2, we're going to be kind of playing with this a little bit more. Hope you guys come check it out.